Sachem Library presents Windows 10 Basics, brought to you by Sharper Training Solutions Incorporated. Today's agenda: Windows 10 terminology, Microsoft account and the benefits, the OneDrive, and commonly used Windows 10 features including parts of the screen, the Action Center, Cortana, and creating shortcuts. Some Windows 10 terminology changes. Control Panel is now called Settings. Windows Explorer is now called File Explorer. Desktop icons are now called Apps. One of the first things you'll be prompted to do when setting up Windows 10 is to set up a Microsoft account, which requires an email and a password. A Microsoft account gives users full benefits of the following: Cortana, Microsoft Edge, which replaced Internet Explorer, and the OneDrive. If you need to create a Microsoft account, go to account.microsoft.com, select Sign In, then choose Create One. Don't forget the login and password you chose. The OneDrive is cloud-based file storage, so it does not use up space on your computer's hard drive. It allows you to access your files from any computer when you log into your Microsoft account. Each Microsoft account includes 5 gigabytes of cloud storage for free. You can upgrade the available storage to 50 gigabytes for an extra $2 a month, or subscribe to Office 365, which comes with a $70 per year fee, but you'd get 1,000 gigabytes or 1 terabyte of storage. There's no need to install anything additional. Windows 10 has OneDrive already installed in it. It is safe to save files on your OneDrive since it is marked private by default, and the biggest security protection is your antivirus software. Having a robust or strong password is also important. If you delete a file from your OneDrive, it will be deleted from your cloud. Now let's move on to Windows 10 features. Once we turn on our computer and we're at our desktop, we learned before that these little pictures, formerly known as icons, we now call our apps. Down at the bottom of our screen, we have what's called our taskbar. If we go all the way to the end of our taskbar, we have this button here. We're going to click on this button. This is called our Action Center. When my Action Center opens up, on the top I'm going to see any notifications that my computer is giving to me. Below my notifications, I have these buttons here, which give me access to different settings on my computer. As I mentioned before, we no longer have Control Panel, so this is one area that we're able to access our computer settings. If I wanted to expand this section and see more buttons, I could click on this Expand button, and I have more buttons to choose from. Again, all easy access things that I may need to do to my computer quick: airplane mode, night light, etc. Below these buttons, I have quick access to my computer's brightness. Clicking on this oval piece here and dragging my mouse, click and drag, holding my left mouse button down, I can actually adjust the brightness of my computer. If I want to collapse this so that it looks the way it did before, I go to my collapse button here, and now I have it exactly the way it was when I first opened it, so I can see more of my notifications this way. If I didn't want to click on my notifications, just seeing a piece of them was enough, I could actually click on clear all notifications and they would get deleted. I could delete one at a time by clicking on the X. If I go to the top of this menu, you're going to see Manage Notifications. Let's click there with our left mouse button. This brings me to the Settings section, Notifications and Actions. If for some reason I didn't want to get any notifications on my computer, I could actually turn that feature off. So right here, and kind of as we move down a little bit, I could turn my notifications off. That means that I wouldn't get anything from my action panel there. The other thing that's set up is all these little choices here are by default they're on. Take a look at your own computer and you can decide if any of these you'd like to turn off. For example, if you didn't want your notifications to make a sound, you could always uncheck that one. It makes a little noise, it makes a little sound when you get a notification. When I scroll down a little bit more, I have a whole list here of the different apps that give me notifications. If for any reason I want to turn some of them off because I don't want to receive notifications from them, I can easily turn them off with their toggle buttons. And then it's easy enough to turn them back on. I'm going to go back up to the top to where my X is, and I'm going to go ahead and left click the X to close out of my settings. Let's go back down to our taskbar, where we're going to see some icons down here, or what we now call apps, and we're really going to talk more about them a little later. If we keep moving over toward the left, we're going to see here where it says Type to Search. This is the vastly improved Windows search bar. When I click in my search bar, a window pops up, and there's some new things in here with the most recent update that Windows 10 did. So they changed it around a little bit. At the top, it's going to tell you the top apps that you use. So you may have different apps here than I do. Underneath on the left side, you're also going to see your most recent activity, which means most recent documents you were working on will show up in this list. On the right side, there's just some quick searches. If you wanted to quickly check the weather, check top news, you could click on these things. The cool thing about the search bar here is it not only does a search of your computer, but it also searches the internet. By default, it's going to use Microsoft Edge as its search engine, as its browser when we do a search in here. If it does do some type of a search and it needs to use a search engine, it will actually also use Bing as its search engine. But anytime it does any kind of internet activity, it will by default use Microsoft Edge. So what are the types of things I can search for? I could search for documents I've maybe created. I could search for an app that I have on here that maybe I'm not sure where it is, because you may notice I don't have every app here as a shortcut. So I could take a look and I could find a certain app in here. If I wanted to find the Paint app, I type Paint, and sure enough it shows up at the top. I could click on it and I could open it up. If I was working on a document, let's say a resume, and maybe I worked on it a few months ago and I can't quite remember exactly what I called it. I know I have the word resume in there. I could type resume, and sure enough, any documents that are in my computer that have the word resume in them are going to pop up. So that's pretty cool too. I'm going to move just to the right of my search bar where there's this little circle here, and if I point at it, it tells me talk to Cortana. Cortana is really cool. Cortana, you can get weather forecasts, you can set reminders. She'll help you make a grocery list or any kind of a list. She'll tell you jokes. She'll send emails for you. She's just like Siri. So let's go ahead and try that. If I click on this, remind me to call the bank.
Sure. When should I remind you?
Tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Okay. Got it.
So now tomorrow at 10 a.m., I'm going to get a reminder in my notifications at 10 a.m. to call the bank. As simple as that. What's the weather like in Tucson, Arizona?
Right now, it's clear and 76 in Tucson, Arizona. The forecast shows sun with a low...
Okay, that's enough. So we can ask Cortana to find several different things. We can ask Cortana to tell us the best Italian restaurant in our area, or to help us find a gas station. Like I said, she does a lot of different things, so it's a really, really cool feature that Windows 10 has added to its operating system. Let's take a look now all the way to the left side of our taskbar where we have our Start button. Let's go ahead and click on our Start button. And we actually have 3 sections here. We're going to start on the right where we have all these kind of like big boxes. These are called tiles. Windows introduced these tiles to us with their Windows 8, and they kept them by sticking them here in the Start button for us. These are here as shortcuts. So you'll see I have Word here. I also have Word here. This big list is an alphabetical list of all the apps I have on my computer. So if I scroll down to W, sure enough, I'll find Word. So these are just shortcuts. I can actually add shortcuts to my taskbar as well as to my desktop. So how would I add a shortcut to my desktop? Let's start there. I find the app I want to make a shortcut of on my desktop, and I'm going to take my mouse and point at it, and I'm going to click and hold my left mouse button down. While I'm holding my mouse button down, I'm still holding it down, I'm going to pull it and drag it out to my desktop, so I'm on the outside of my Start button. Once I'm out here, you'll see you get the word link. I let go. And it didn't work. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Okay, so I clicked and dragged and brought it out to the desktop. Now that it's here, it's a shortcut. I could double click this just like I would any other app, and it would open up Microsoft Word. If I wanted to take this app and have it near my other apps, I just click and drag it. I hold my left mouse button down and I drag it over. Saving something, or I should say creating a shortcut in my taskbar, is just as easy, and the biggest difference between the two is, as I mentioned, these require a double click. The taskbar apps only require a single click. For example, if I come over to my Microsoft Edge app and I give it one click, opens up. Real easy. So, depending on what you're comfortable with and how you like to use your computer, if you wanted to put shortcuts down here in your taskbar, you would do it basically the same way. I'm going to go to my Start button, and this time I think I'll use Excel. I want to put a shortcut of Excel here in my taskbar. I'm going to point at the Excel app, and I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and drag Excel to the taskbar. Once again, I see the word link, so I know that I'm not in my menu anymore, right? And I'm going to let go. There it is. click away. I see where Word is. I see where Excel is. As I said, the only difference between the two, this one requires a double click. This one, just one click will open it up. What if I want to remove an app from my taskbar? Maybe I don't use Excel anymore, or maybe there's something there that Windows put there for me and I don't use that particular app and I want to remove it. If I want to remove an app from my taskbar, I'm going to right click it. When I right click it, a pop-up menu appears. I'm going to look for Unpin from taskbar, and I'm going to left click that. I'm going to left click Unpin from taskbar, and it becomes removed. This does not delete the program. It only removes the pin that I pinned it. It only removes the shortcut. I can remove Word or any of these shortcuts just as easily. I click on the Word app and I find delete on my keyboard and it disappears. You'll see when I check in my start button, there's Excel. I didn't delete it, I only removed the shortcut. So creating a shortcut is super easy in Windows 10. The last thing I want to point out is on the far left here, when we point over here, these kind of expand. We have our power button, which is where we either shut down or we restart our computer. And we have our settings here, which again is what used to be known as our control panel. So if I click on my settings, it's going to bring me in. This is something you definitely want to check out when you have time to really check out your computer. This is where you're going to go for any kind of personalization of your background, your lock screen, your color choices. This ease of access section is new. Has a lot of really cool things in there. You can adjust the size of your mouse and the speed, change it from left clicker to a right click for left-handed. There's a lot of different things in here. You can link your phone to it, so you could actually have Cortana send text messages if she's connected to your phone. Here's a whole bunch of settings on Cortana. So they took Control Panel away because they basically incorporated all that stuff right here into your Windows settings. Definitely a really cool thing to check out and see. I always like people to know, don't make changes of anything unless you really understand what it is. You can always Google something and find out what something means before you make a change to it. Right, I'm going to come up to the X up at the top, close that out. I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial on Windows 10. If you're interested in more tutorials, please contact Sachem Library. Have a great day. Stay well.